Cafe anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I want to talk like this now. And I'll stop. I was watching that Jack Whitehall
Mike's Daily Podcast
show on Netflix with his dad, Michael Whitehall. And they talk with that thick accent. And I can't do it. Dang it. I am so glad that 220's almost done. 2020 done. Can't wait. So close, yet so far.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I think the last show I did not have the singing parts correct.
Mike's Daily
I was a little bit off
Podcast.
when I was trying to sing along with the song.
Yeah!
So that's worth going back and listening to. I would do that if I was you. I would go back and listen to when Mike was messing up on his podcast show.
Tell us a joke.
Did you hear the joke about the bed? Mike, did you hear the joke about the bed? It ain't made up yet. Boom.
That's my buddy Juice. He got this little silly
Probably this may actually be the last podcast of 2020. There's a good chance that I won't have enough time to sit here with you at Cafe Anyway and do another one. Aw, I know. Cry a lot right now because of the things I just said. So I have to thank you for listening to this podcast for however long you've been doing it. This is FFFSO 2177. We are going to forge ahead. Yes, there are a couple times this year and in years past I have thought about not doing the podcast. Usually because of something some idiot said to me. And it got to me and got in my head. And good look at that. You got in my head. Woohoo. Well, you know what? You're out of my head now because I don't even remember who it was that did that. But it's just that sometimes we take things a little too personally. Today, I had an interesting day. I don't have a podcast picture yet. And
here's today's podcast picture.
The pressure. Today, I went on a nice walk. And, that picture didn't come out. Dang it. I hate that. It came out all blurry. That podcast picture we won't use. But I went to a spot that I used to go to with my wonderful late great dog, Basil the Boxer. No longer with us, but we used to go to this place up in I guess you would say the west part of Podcastro Valley called Fairmont Ridge. And I have posted many a podcast picture from that spot. I might even post one today from my little walk today. And Basil and I, we would run into people all the time and dogs that we knew, and he would play with them. And so there I am walking by myself in this place that I used to go to with my buddy. And it was a little sad. But also a great way to remember him and just a great way to enjoy a couple of hours as we wrap up 2020. What an awful year. I'm so glad it's done. There were a couple of good memories that I'll hold on to, but for the most part. So one of the guys I ran into, as a matter of fact, that I used to see with Basil the Boxer all the time, he was, I heard from the lady you hear at the beginning of the show, Aunt Katrine, my cousin. She said, how was my Christmas? Good. She's over in Germany, so when I hear from her, I'm like, wow. Cafe wow. Cafe anyway. Yes, I run into this guy today as I'm walking at Fairmont Ridge. And I used to see him all the time with Basil. And he sees me by myself and he instantly knows. And he hasn't seen me in a long time. He goes, oh no, what happened to Basil? Like, first question out of his mouth. And I let him know. But that's how it is. We have the common language, the dog walkers. Especially when you see the same people all the time at the dog park. or this isn't really a dog park. It's a park. It's a huge park, but not like a little dog park that's like the size of a tiny parking lot. And dogs run around and bark and go, this is the place that the dogs really want to go. And I did take Basil the Boxer to this place many, many times. So I guess I will post a picture of that at mikesdailypodcast.com. Okay. So the other thing is Proposition 19 happened. And I didn't really know that it got passed. I don't think I voted for it. I know. I should know one way. I definitely know I was not for that Uber thing. Because I knew it was Uber trying to weasel their way out of massive legislation that was being thrown on them by the state of California. Although I did do a podcast where I was trying to figure out what the heck that stupid proposition meant. But in hindsight, we find out this is typical California. A proposition comes along, everybody gets bombarded by all the awful political advertising, and whoever dumps the most money sways everybody's thinking. It's just that's how you win elections in California. Just put a lot of money in it, put a lot of celebrities behind it, you'll get it passed. So the stupid Uber thing got passed, and now, and I say it's stupid because Uber really, they were going to owe a lot of money to their employees had the original legislation held. But now this proposition has replaced it, and now they still got to pay their employees, but a little bit less. I guess there's a lot of stuff that got thrown out that now the employees won't get. But I guess Uber was threatening to leave California and people were using that. My point is that one of the propositions you may not have thought too much about, Proposition 19, that's going to come back and bite everybody in the butt. Wow. I hope to gosh I didn't vote for it. Didn't vote yes for it. It was the one that, as we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley today, the last place on earth. It was the law or the proposition that replaces the previous law that allowed you, if somebody passed away and they willed you a house, they willed to you a nice house somewhere, and let's say you've never owned a house before in your life, all of a sudden, ding, you just got a house. You get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house. And you inherited the tax base. This is how I understand it. The house didn't even have to be reassessed or anything. It just went directly to you. And I guess no taxes were involved up to a certain amount. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of the very minute legalese, but that was basically it. Now, with Proposition 19, that's gone. If you are going to will your house, or let's say your rich uncle was going to will you his house, now you will have to pay taxes on the reassessed value. And you know how houses constantly get reassessed and in California, and they go up, up, and up. Well, how is anyone supposed to pay for that? So there was some theories of how to get around that. First off, that doesn't happen until sometime in early February. But some people were saying, well, maybe the rich uncle should just give that house now to whoever it was that he was going to give it to, but keep living in the house. And I guess there's some law that you can go to some fancy schmancy lawyer and get that done. But it's all complicated. And who knows what will happen next year. What I'm hearing from lawyers is that this is just this is going to be a wreck, Proposition 19. And all it was done was to help the real estate community, the real people trying to sell houses for top dollar. Now they can go in there and do it. Now they can get a piece of the pie. So that's what I heard about that. But we'll see. If I'm wrong about any of this, which I probably am because I am not a lawyer, you can call me 336-MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast tries to be. But I am not surprised. California like I said, with these stinking propositions, tries to just get one over everybody all the dang time. Okay, let's make a proposition so that nobody of the same gender can get married. There we go. And it got passed. And then it got revoked. But yes, California. Wow. We do some weird stuff. Okay, here's the other interesting thing. That coronavirus, that COVID-19 variant, has now entered America. Some 20-year-old guy in Denver. Who wants to place bets that 20-year-old guy in Denver was doing a lot of traveling, brah? I was going over to Mexico, and I went to England, and I went to all kinds of places because I was bored, yo. I had some free time. I'm gonna get the hell out of Denver. Idiot. So now he's brought COVID-19 variant to the USA as if we didn't have enough problems. We're still trying to get rid of the first COVID-19, and then he comes along. Wear your masks. Don't go and travel. Simple little things like this. If you can avoid traveling, avoid it. You don't need to take that stupid trip to the super spreader event dance rave you wanted to go to. Just because your favorite cute guy looks great without a shirt and has that stupid man bun. He was going to mix some music and you wanted to be there. Oh, too bad. Denver. Anywho, enough of that whining and dining. Britney Spears. I hope she's doing well. The last time I saw her was on the show Chatty Man. It's with Alan Carr. He's in England. And like many let me use the right article there. Like many an American that goes to England to be interviewed, Graham Norton, who interviews a British, or I think he's Irish, isn't he? Any of these famous British talk show hosts, as soon as the American sits down and starts getting interviewed, they look lost. They look like fish out of water. And that's the same for a lot of the British actors that come here. Noel Fielding, the guy from Mighty Boosh and the IT Crowd and a couple other things in England. Funny guy, kind of goth comedian. He was not nearly as funny as he usually is in England. You put him on an American talk show with Conan O'Brien, it kind of fell flat. But he's much funnier in England. So same thing happens there. Britney Spears was getting interviewed by Alan Carr, and she looked completely, didn't know what he was saying because the accent's thick. And Alan Carr is hilarious. And Britney Spears was doing this thing where she puts her head back, and suddenly she has a double chin, and she's like laughing, looks kind of like, her eyelids are moving really fast, like blinking really fast. And you could just tell she was out of her element going, and then she didn't understand what the guy was saying half the time. This is an old interview. And then she said to him that she liked being on his show because he reminded her of Austin Powers. Comment on his teeth. And that was, but anywho, the two of them made up despite their awkwardness, and she was singing whatever her song was at the time to people in the audience, and I guess Alan Carr's staff, because it was basically, the song was called Be Please, B being a word that I won't say on the show out of respect, even though I called Britney Spears someone with a double chin. Hey, I've got one. I don't even have to work at it. But she was doing that thing with her. Do you do that when you're kind of like confused? You blink really fast. Kind of looks like a penguin having a seizure. I don't know. I'm just trying to put something in perspective. But I hope she's doing well. I know she has had a lot of family issues, and she had a breakdown of some kind at one point, and her dad has conservatorship over her. I don't know. Finally, speaking of faces, when someone is listening to you, when you talk to them, do they give you serious face? I know somebody that when she talks to you, she's all smiles and laughing and happy. But when you talk to her, suddenly her face gets really serious. Like, what did I say? I was just responding to the thing you were talking about how eggs are round and we're kind of round, but they're more ovalish and they're delicious. I was just, dovetailing on that. So why are you looking at me all serious? Like, is it something I said? But that's her default listen face. Her default listener face is super serious. And it's interesting. Something I've had to adjust to. Okay, she's just doing that default serious face. She's not actually like suddenly offended or serious. Because usually when I see that face, I'm like, oh, I said something. Oops. I said something about double chins. Oops. And Austin Powers. Yeah, baby, yeah. Look who's outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Hi, Mike. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How y'all doing? And to Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what. What? Wasn't Britney Spears that girl that sang that song about being beautiful no matter what they say? Christina Aguilera. What? Look who else is here. Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Thank you. So all I'm saying is read your propositions or move out of California or laugh and don't care what anybody thinks of what you do with your chin and blink really fast because life is short. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Thank you so much for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!